Yeah, what's going on, everybody? I just wanted to start making some YouTube videos, kind of capturing my trading, going over different trading setups and stuff. Just basically a journal for myself. I'm really not going to be covering too much of how I trade or how I trade order flow. Order flow is a strategy I use, but more or less just a journal for myself. Help me kind of review and process trades as I go. And hopefully, you guys can learn something from it if anybody's out there watching. I'd love to be able to teach somebody something new or something that maybe they haven't thought about before. Even though I'm far from perfect as a trader, discipline wise, I do think I have the correct strategy. I trade how the market is meant to be traded, and if you do use discipline with this strategy, you will be profitable. Using proper risk and all that. Now that being said, I'm going to go over these trades pretty much for myself. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll try to make a separate video on questions about context or jargon or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, this is a personal journal, and you know, not everyone is going to be able to understand what I'm saying. So I'll do my best to answer your questions if you have any in a different video. Let's get into the setup. So today we opened up on the 30-minute here. We had three previous sessions, pretty much, sell into and sell below this supply zone here, below this range. Something to really note on the open this morning is that over these previous sessions here, starting from last Thursday on, from the sell-off forward, we started forming really high volume around these 58s to 60s. We can see it even more concentrated here if you move the volume profile all the way out to today. The highest volume traded is up here right at this 66, and I had this marked out before we even opened today. So definitely a key level, a key level to be watching here. Looking at this level, I know it's going to be a pretty strong point of contest, and whoever's in control below that or above that, try to take note of. But also, this supply zone we've rejected multiple times over three different sessions now. We're selling under this thing, and I kept that in mind coming into today, knowing that we're near, 800s. There's a lot of room for sellers to reload up here. Coming into the supply level, I was definitely feeling pretty bearish already. If we move down to a lower time frame here, actually, more what I see while I'm day trading. I already had this stuff previously drawn out, but this is the area of really high volume. We opened pretty much at it. London had been consolidating there since after NFTC this morning. So, we're sitting here consolidating. We finally move up into the supply. I took a little bit of a preemptive trade here. I wasn't quite tapping into this 30-minute supply that I was looking at that I just described earlier. So this is a bit preemptive. If we look at it, actually on the volume, we'll see that, there's quite a few, there's a lot of aggressive buying coming in, around these 77, 75s. And this is at, 852. So this is right in this area, right as we're coming into this level. So that being said, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if we can get back below this, this area of consolidation here, we're probably going to put quite a bit of punishment on these guys. And maybe want to go back down here and revisit all this high volume and possibly even low a day down here at the time. And we ended up doing that. But once we got into this low volume, or this like really high concentration volume like consolidation here, I decided to go ahead and take this trade off as I was already at, I was at a 4-1 at this point. The confirmation for this trade was, we have all this aggressive buying. There's a ton of buyers in the market, all day. A lot of high buy volume, pretty much all day in this range, it's 70s, 60s. A lot of buy volume, but anyway, so we get these two delta outliers, pretty big. But we are running into some sellers. We're starting to see the semblance of the supply zone starting to take effect. We're seeing a lot of aggressive selling coming in. This aggressive buying really kind of had a lackluster reaction, if we're being honest, pushing the market up only, it pushed up about 15 points. But we really started to struggle up here. I took my first attempt around here with these aggressive sellers. They were coming in. We started to see the volume kind of taper with these buyers here. It was a little bit preemptive. We weren't quite in supply, so I didn't really have the right location on this, and that is my fault. Taking this a bit preemptive here. But the second attempt worked out. We tapped into this again. Like if we look at this on the 30-minute, we can see that we were finally actually moving into this level. I was watching where the sellers are going to reload. I'm looking for them to reload here, because otherwise we're looking at inversing this whole supply zone, kind of turning into demand, looking to possibly close a lot of this lower volume up here. So if sellers are going to reload, now's the time. And I mean, boy, did they, right? I mean, we sold off we sold about 200 points on the day from here, where I took the entry. Obviously, that's a really big outlier. If you know the indices, a 200 point sell off isn't exactly the most normal thing ever on the S&P, like on the ES. I ended up taking this trade. Yeah, so I ended up taking this trade right around the 8650s. In the straight here, you can see on Sierra. We can see the buy volume start to taper off again. It's tapering the whole way up here. The buyers are really not looking good. Seeing a lot of aggressive selling start to come in on the supply. We're seeing the buyers taper off and taper off. There's not much effort from these guys. And I know that if we can get below these 77s, we're going to put the pressure on them pretty hard here. And I can probably get a pretty quick dip into, this volume back below 70 and or low a day. So I did end up taking this trade here right around these 8650s after seeing the aggressive selling come in. Having a stop up here above the high day above these 90s. And this ended up being a 4-to-1. You can see the buyers trying to save it here. A lot of aggressive selling, and this is just kind of the final nail in the coffin. I mean, these guys were getting super aggressive here below these initial, like right at and below these initial buyers. So yeah, moved it right into the target. I mean, I sold right down here around these 70s after seeing, I didn't want to, because if we start taking these aggressive sellers back over, those guys could become buyers. So we don't want to get trapped down here. Yeah, went ahead and exit the trade. It was a good trade, 4-to-1. Can't complain about that. The preemptive attempt, definitely need to work on. But we can see, I mean, we proved the supply zone again later. And it's pretty significant level. I mean, we're seeing a lot of heavy selling and really harsh rejections outside of this level. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a 200 point sell. I didn't actually take this trade. This is just for reference here. I was going to talk about this. We have this area of low volume that formed as we're selling off, and we're attempting to break the low day now for the third time. If we look at this, I mean, this is some heavy sell volume coming into this low. And there's not much volume above, though. We got a pretty decent amount of transactions taking place, a little bit of concentration here at these 75s, and then not really much volume. And then we have these 70s where we see this huge, large amount of selling coming. So I view this, some people call it a fair value gap, but what these really are is a low volume node. So you have this area of low volume that forms. There's not very many transactions in this area. And so if we come back up and we test this area, we're going to see, usually we'll get a clearer picture of what the true colors are here. And seeing us pop back into this low volume, not very many transactions, right back above where all these sellers are at, and they're putting no punishment on these guys, by the way. I mean, this pop, there's barely any buying. I mean, these guys are tapered off hard. And then you see these sellers get aggressive again, aggressive, hard, aggressive, and start breaking, giving that momentum towards low a day. These guys are not getting stopped out. They're staying in, They probably plan to take out the easier liquidity below. I had it drawn in the morning already. We had 3 pretty easy downside targets on the day. These are pretty obvious lows here. We were able to sweep through all 3 of these just off of that. I mean, this is, even if you just took this off the first target, I mean, that is a 7-to-1, 32 point trade. If you put yourself above that low volume node, you don't really want to see them reclaim that. If they do reclaim that, either way, you can't really kick yourself. I mean, this is a really good risk to reward to try. The only reason I didn't take it is because I would have been breaking my rules. Once I'm in profit on the day and I've already taken a winning trade, I shut down for the rest of the day to observe. But this was probably the second best setup I observed on the day. I mean, this is a gigantic sell-off. If you guys learned anything from this video, I'd really appreciate, a like or a comment, or just any questions you have. You can reach out in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. Here's to the start of kind of the trade journal channel for me. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you next time.